Did my best friend betray me at my own wedding? I found out a secret that broke my heart. I was the maid of honor. I stood by the bride. I held her bouquet. But the groom and my best friend had a secret life. I discovered a photo on my phone. The photo showed them in a small house. They were together for years. I felt stabbed by a friend. I wanted to scream, however I smiled for the ceremony. The guests cheered, the vows began, and I kept the secret in my pocket. I had to choose, stop the wedding now or let the lie go on. I felt my hands shake. How could she marry him and hide him from me? The truth sat heavy like a stone. I walked down the aisle with my heart full of betrayal, then the groom spoke my name instead of his bride. I know the ceremony room well. The white chairs, the long aisle, the flowers. I saw guests smile. I stood at the front as the maid of honor. My friend, Nora, looked beautiful. She wore a long white gown. People clapped. The groom, Omar, looked nervous. He held my friend's hand. I felt the vow words like a knife. I had known Nora and Omar for 6 years. We met in college. Nora and I shared late nights, secrets, and small houses. We promised to help each other always. She promised me her truth. She promised me friendship. I promised the same. The wedding was their dream. The cake, the toast, the reception, all perfect. I gave a short speech. I said, "You both deserve love. I am so happy for you." Some guests cried. Nora kissed Omar. The band played soft music. I smiled and clapped. I kept the phone in my purse. I wanted to throw it away. I wanted to tell the truth. But I did not. I gave the bouquet to Nora after the ceremony. I stood near the aisle while the guests took photos. After the dinner, a woman at the next table came to me. She had a hard face. She said quietly, "You should see this." She put a photo on the table. My coffee fell from my hand. The photo showed Nora and Omar in a small kitchen. They looked older and tired. They held hands like lovers who hide. I felt the room spin. I wanted to shout, "Why did you lie?" But I saw how everyone saw me. Nora laughed with the guests. Omar raised his glass. I kept the photo. I walked to the restroom. My legs felt weak. I touched the scar on my left hand. In the mirror, I saw a woman who had been betrayed. I thought of the promises. I thought of our quiet nights. I thought of the words Nora once whispered, "We will share everything." How could she hide him? How could she marry me? The dress on the hanger felt heavy as a shroud. I listened to a pair of shoes outside the door. Someone was coming in. I opened the door and the music stopped for a second. The next moment would change everything. The woman who gave me the photo was a guest named Salma. She left fast after she saw my face. I stayed near the restroom. I could hear the reception laughter. I held the photo like a hot coal. I walked back to the hall. The DJ called for the first dance. Everyone looked at Nora and Omar. The groom took the mic to give a toast. He smiled and began a line about truth and family. My hands tightened around the paper. I thought about standing up and shouting. I thought about running away and throwing the photo on the stage. My heart beat fast. I saw Nora across the room. She looked at me and smiled. Her eyes were bright. She mouthed, "Thank you." I felt a cold hand on my shoulder. It was Omar. He looked at the paper in my hand. His face changed for one slow second. I met his eyes. He stepped closer and whispered, "Where did you get that?" His voice was calm. My throat closed. I wanted to tear the photo. I wanted to ask him why he lied. Instead, I put the paper back in my purse and said nothing. He left and returned to Nora. He raised his glass for another toast. A man in the guest rows stood up. It was Mr. Khalid, Nora's father. He cleared his throat and said, "If anyone has an objection, speak now." A hush fell. I felt the floor thin under me. The word objection hung like a bell. I thought about every secret we shared. I thought about every time Nora called me after midnight. I thought about her voice saying, "This will not hurt you." I raised my hand. I did not plan this. My body moved before I could stop it. I walked to the center of the room. I held the photo with shaking fingers. All eyes turned to me. Nora gasped. Omar's smile froze. I placed the photo on the table and said, "I have something to show." Gasps filled the hall. Guests whispered. Nora's face turned white. Omar's jaw clenched. A child started to cry. The band stopped. The pastor looked confused. I opened my mouth to speak. My first word was, "Why?" Then a quiet voice behind me said, "Layla, stop." I turned and saw a man I did not know. He looked at me with sad eyes. Who was he? I felt my world tilt again. I have a confession. I am not only the betrayed. I am the one who made the plan. I am the villain in my own story. When I saw that photo, I felt pain and then a cold clarity. I remembered nights when I sat alone and thought of Nora and Omar. I remembered the day I helped Nora pick her ring. I remembered the small house they shared in the photo. I knew that house. I had been there before. Years ago, I lived with Omar in that house for 3 months. I thought I helped him then. I told myself I helped because of friendship. But the truth is worse. I wanted control. I wanted to test Nora. I wanted to see if her love was real. I put the photo where Salma could find it. I told Salma a lie, a small lie about the photo. She ran with it. The secret spread to me again. I never meant to make a scene at the wedding. I wanted Nora to find out in private and confess. I wanted a quiet truth, not this public pain. But I let the plan go too far. Now all eyes were on me. I had to speak the truth. I stepped to the mic. I felt the heat of 1,000 eyes. I said a test. I gave a photo to a guest. I lied to start this. I made a choice and I hurt you all. The hall went very silent. Nora's hand flew to her mouth. Omar looked as if someone had punched him. The man who stopped me earlier, the stranger, walked up. He was a lawyer. He said, "You cannot just spread a private life like this. You could ruin a family." I looked at his badge. He was right. I had ruined trust. I saw Nora fall to a chair. Tears poured from her eyes. Guests whispered words like scandal and shame. I felt sick. I thought the test would free me. It made me the villain. I felt a new pain. It was a heavy, honest pain. I saw my scar on my hand again. I touched it and remembered why I made the test. Fear. Fear of being left, fear of small lies. I had wanted proof that Nora chose me and our friendship over a hidden life. The proof came, but now nothing was the same. I left the stage and walked to the garden. The moon was thin and cold. I thought Nora would come after me. Her footsteps sounded far away instead. I waited for the sound that would show her face at my door. Only a bell rang from the garden gate. The reveal came before I could plead. Nora followed me into the garden. She stood with her bouquet in hand. Her eyes were red. She said, "Why did you do this?" I could not give a clean answer. I told her the truth piece by piece. I said, I wanted to know. I wanted proof. I was afraid you loved him more than our friendship. She laughed once, a small, broken sound. She told me something I did not expect. "Omar is not my husband," she said. "He is my brother-in-law. They married in secret to protect a child you do not know about." My breath stopped. She told me how Omar and Nora had been part of a long plan. Nora had promised me honesty, but she lied to protect a small life. She thought my plan would hurt that life. She feared I would expose it. I had acted like a judge. I had judged without truth. The worst part was this: When I put the photo where Salma would find it, I imagined Nora angry and confessing. I imagined us returning to trust. Instead, I broke the shelter around a child and a family. I was the villain who burned a home to find a secret. Nora stepped close. She said, "I forgive you, but I need time." The vows people heard were real for them, but the truth is more complex. She left the garden with a slow step. I watched her go. The lesson landed hard in my chest. I had learned that truth is not always mine to give. I had learned that tests do not prove love. They destroy it. Later, I apologized to Omar and Nora in private. I asked for their forgiveness and I offered to leave. Nora touched my hand once and said, "You must learn to trust without breaking people." I nodded. I did not expect her kindness. The final scene was quiet. I walked home alone. The street smelled like wet pavement. I learned to hold my secrets and my mistakes. I learned to say the word sorry and mean it. The last thing I did that night was write a vow to myself: I will not be the judge again. I will repair what I can. I will not use pain to find proof. The wedding lights dimmed behind me like a lesson. I understood the price of being a villain. The final line I said to no one was, "I am sorry, Nora. I am sorry, Omar. I am sorry to the child I may have hurt."